Our next question is from Suzanne in Munich, Germany.
I love writing a lot, and I write a gratitude journal every day. I try to do it on my computer, but it does not feel natural. I want to be disconnected when I do so. Now I have a big collection of journals from the past years and simply cannot get rid of them. I thought about scanning them, but it does not feel right to read them on my computer. And I do read them from time to time and feel amazing about all the gratitude. Do you have any advice?
So do we have any advice? I mean, here's some things I probably would have told Georgia on the last voicemail, but I think these apply just as much to Suzanne. She said she's tried to write on the computer, but it doesn't feel natural.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing feels natural at first. It was the first time you've done it.
Right.
First time I played basketball, it didn't feel natural to me, right? And I think that's true. The first time I wrote a sentence, it didn't feel natural to me. The first time I tried to write a book, it sure as hell didn't feel natural to me. The first time I wrote a blog post, it didn't feel natural to me. What feels natural is something we've done for a long time that all of a sudden seems natural to us, but it took a long time to build up that skill. It doesn't mean that you don't have the talent for it. It means you took time to gratitude journal every single day. So something that I would recommend, and this could apply to Georgia as well, but for Suzanne, I think that you probably want to write about the experience and the emotions you're feeling of letting go. And one of the things you can do is start a blog, and maybe you can keep it a private blog even if you want, and unless you want to make it public, which I think is great. You can learn out loud, as we say. And actually, Sean, can you put a link? So many people ask us how we started our blog. We have a blog post called How to Start a Successful Blog. Now, you can redefine success in a bunch of different ways. It doesn't mean having millions of readers. It can mean that you're doing it every day or that you're learning a lot in public. And so the first thing I'll recommend, is write in public if you can, right? And then some other practical tips. Why not take pictures or scan those journals? And they said, well, I don't know if I'm about doing all of them. Why don't you just do one and keep the journal? See how it feels. And then anytime you need to go back and reference that one journal, go back and reference it online first. And by the way, some of the ones that you scan, you can make them searchable. So you don't have to flip through 100 different pages to find what you want. So, and if you don't want to scan it yourself, you don't want to rip out the pages, there are places that you can scan. You can send your journals or whatever off. They'll scan it for you and either send it back to you, or you can have them dispose of it as well. Let's put a link to at least one of the scanning places that we've had recommended to us recently. So, Sean, if you could do that. And then on top of that, when it comes to the physical things, getting back to Georgia, is maybe take a picture of some of the things you're letting go of. If you're still trying to hold on to those triggers of memories, I don't want to lose I know the memories aren't the things, but I want to hold on to these triggers, even of the journals. Yeah, then you could take a picture of it, and I think you can let go. Yeah. Some questions that I would ask Susan, Ryan, you tell me what you think about these. Why are you asking this question?
Yeah.
And for me, it sounds to me like maybe you want to get rid of these journals, or maybe you want to know what you should want. Does that make sense?
It does. I think so. I
guess let me rephrase it. Maybe she thinks like I should want to get rid of these journals.
Right. Like I was just thinking that sometimes someone who's like, okay, you know what, I'm going to be a minimalist. I'm going to apply this philosophy to my life. And Josh and Ryan, they don't have a lot of journals.
Right.
So I shouldn't have a lot of journals.
Right.
So I should want to get rid of these, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. And maybe she actually does want to get rid of them. Maybe they are a burden to her. Yeah. But if they're not a burden to you, then here's your permission to hold on to them, please. Yeah. You don't have to feel compelled to get rid of everything to be a minimalist. In fact, I think about our friend Drew, who did the music for our documentary Minimalism. He has he's getting ready to do this Kickstarter project for this really nice handcrafted journal that has like a refillable liner in it, and it's gorgeous. It is. He showed me like a preliminary video to it. It is beautiful, and he's like, I like to have one journal on my desk, and here's my sketches and everything. So I want it to be one really high quality, beautiful item that also I can replace and remove the inserts and put them on my shelf so I can go back and reference them because I use this all the time for my work. I'm like, that sounds awesome. And you don't have to justify it to me, but it sounds to me like that would make sense. And if I needed to work in that same way, then I would want the same thing, a beautiful object that I found value in. And it sounds like Suzanne finds more value in the act of journaling than she does in the object itself. The object is just a vehicle that provides the value. And so maybe a blog could be just as good of an answer, and it could allow her to expose her gratitude in public, and maybe, just maybe, that'll help other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the question that I would ask Suzanne here is, are these causing more pain than pleasure?
Yeah, is it a net positive
or net negative? That's only for Suzanne to know. For me, it'd be a net negative because I don't want to have a bookshelf full of journals. That's my preference, and preferences are what make the world go around.
That's right.
So if Susan's preference, if she prefers to have a bookshelf full of her journals, then that's great. I mean, she's obviously asking this question because she feels a little bit of pain. So again, she's got to look at it and say, am I experiencing more pain than I am pleasure here? Like I thought about when I was answering her question, I thought, man, my car, it causes me a lot of pain. Like I got to get the oil changed. It's an older car, leaks when it rains.
Mm-hmm. That's why we moved to Los Angeles, just so your car would stop leaking.
Exactly. Although for some reason I had this rust spot that is like, I got to get something. Again, got to do something about this rust spot. Moving to LA next to the ocean, this rust is spreading pretty quickly now.
Oh, wow.
So there's all this pain associated with my car, but I'm not going to get rid of it because LA is a driving city, unfortunately. I'm not going to go into debt to get another car.
Right.
But ultimately, there are these reasons I have to keep my car, even though it causes me pain. It is a net positive for me to have in my life.
Yeah.
So that's really, I think, where Suzanne needs to look. The other thing too is, are there rules that she can set up for herself with these journals? Are there boundaries that she can set up that maybe it's somewhere in the middle of scanning and getting rid of every single physical journal, and then not doing anything?
Right.
Where is the middle ground? She could, let's see, I've got some stuff written down here. So if it was me, I'd look at, because she says she does go back to them and she reads them, which is great. I've never went back and read any of my journal stuff, but...
And the only thing I'll push back on Suzanne about here is, do you actually do that, or is it an aspirational thing?
Right.
Sometimes we get books or whatever, we have journals because we aspire to do something. I aspire to go back and look at that, but do I actually do it?
Yeah, so she said, when I sometimes go back to read the journals, does that really mean... And one day I know I'm going to want to go back and read these journals. You're absolutely right.
And do you get value from it is the next question, right? Do you actually get value from going back, or do you do it out of a sense of obligation?
So let's say that she is actively reading some of these entries. Let's make that assumption. That's what she said in the voicemail. So let's just make that assumption that she is going back and she's experiencing some of these gratitude journal entries that she's written in the past. I would say, again, which ones hasn't she read in a while or haven't read at all? You could start there. That's a boundary. I'm going to get rid of all the journals I haven't even looked at. Or which ones does she keep going back to? Could she make a best of? A best of gratitude moments in
maybe
her life.
Blog about that in public. Again, can you imagine, Ryan, if you and I just did our blog in private, in a journal?
Yeah.
How much we would have wasted not helping other people, our attention, our time, our talent, our skills. If we would have just done, if we would have come in this room once a week and just have this conversation and not publish the podcast, there'd be a bunch of people who weren't getting value from it. Now, again, you have to realize not everything you write is interesting, but what are the interesting parts from those journals? Maybe the best of is such a great way to convey that to the world, and the world will get value out of that.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking she could create a boundary okay, here are the top 50 things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm having a bad day, I'm feeling upset, I can go to this list of 50 things and remind myself why I am so grateful. And maybe, some things will fall off and other things will get added to that list. But I'm just encouraging Suzanne here to, again, create some boundaries around these journals. I guess the first question I would ask myself if I was Suzanne is, what am I getting out of keeping these journals? And then what am I going to get out of it if I get rid of these journals? She's got to ask herself questions like that to figure out what her what her exact preference is and what's going to make her feel best about these journals. There's not one right way to do it. I wish I could be like, you know what? Oh, Suzanne, thank you for that journal question. Josh and I just wrote an essay on this. The perfect amount of journals to have is 10 journals.
Because that's way too many for me.
Right.
And it may not be enough for her. And so the question then is, what is enough? And I think really that's what minimalism is. It's the art of having enough.
Yeah.
Suzanne, I'd love to send you a copy of the German version of Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life. It just came out in Germany, and I believe it's in German. I wasn't able to read all the words in it, but it certainly looked German to me. It's my favorite cover that we've ever had. I'm looking forward to seeing the physical version. It hasn't shown up here at the studio yet, but it's in Germany now. So Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life in Germany. As soon as we get a physical copy of that in, Sean, if you could send it to her. Or if she wants the audiobook, it's not in German. But if she wants that, we'll be happy to send her an audiobook version of Minimalism, Live a Meaningful Life.